What, Mother? Don't fall asleep in there. You could drown, you know.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
It happens all the time. I've heated up some warm milk for you, honey.
Warm milk? Gross.
I'm okay. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
But I heard you screaming. You were calling me.
I just was getting out of the tub. Mom? Mom?
Okay, so I just finished watching Nightmare on Elm Street as a clip that I want to analyse. Now, my reasonings for choosing Nightmare on Elm Street is that I feel like it's a very historic horror film that represents multiple like amazing camera angles, and the use of sound as a way to build fear is very interesting. So first of all, I'm going to start off by talking about the beginning of the clip. And this is the iconic bathtub clip, by the way. So the beginning of the clip, we are introduced with an establishing shot. Now we see her house, and we see that there's a car driving by, and there's some form of lighting at the front of the house. So light is normally a representation of something calm and heavenly and soft. So it suggests that there's some innocence within that house, and there's innocence present, and there's also life present, because light is a representation of life as well. So then we move on to see that within the establishing shot that it's a nice suburban area. So originally, you're not going to think that anything negative is bound to happen. Within this area, you're going to think that's very safe, very calm, something just like her house, basically. So then we get a cut to the clip of a close-up of the female in the bathtub, and now so she seems quite dazed, she seems quite relaxed, and steam's coming out of the bath, and there's the aroma that she's at home, she's safe, and she's just relaxing. As a young teenager, she must be stressed out with school possibly, or anything that's on her head, or she appears to just be tired in general. She is singing an old hymn within the bath. So that is a sense of sound. It represents how sound is effective, music is effective within horror films, because when listening to this, it replicates a almost old Victorian hymn that could be sung by children, like Ring a Ring of Roses, hymns like that, little nursery rhymes like that, which is quite interesting, because in horror films, it's important to assure that there is a link with history, and history is a vital part of horror in general. So, for example, in Texas Chainsaw, there's a cultural understanding that Ed Gein was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw, and in Nightmare on Elm Street, we see that through the use of the young lady singing a hymn within the bathtub. So then we are cut to a different angle of her in the same scene, but she is actually almost sleeping in the bathtub now, and we get a picture of her legs being split open just like that. and she's in the center. So this is a rule of three. Now, this also incorporates Mulvey's male gaze theory, because at this point, the audience are allowed to see her in a sexual nature, as her legs are slightly open, and it represents that she's vulnerable to whatever's around. So we then see that a hand appears within the center of her legs, and this shows the control that the villain within the film actually has over her body, and she's unable to do so, to react to anything, as she is actually in a daze and she's actually sleeping. So therefore enforcing the title and the role of the film Nightmare on Elm Street. We are also shown that through the male gaze window, it is a window of opportunity for males to fantasize about the female. However, then there's a major cut where her mum is actually knocking at the door, and this actually pulls back the villain from doing or proceeding with whatever he wants to do, in terms of becoming scary or whatever. And this suggests that parents are almost seen as a savior within horror films. They are seen as comforting, and it reinforces the age of the actual character within the film, suggesting that the mum is there to rescue her. And it also links in very well with the use of her singing, the sound, suggesting that she still has a childlike tendency to want to go back to her mother, to always have her mother around. It suggests that parents will forever be there. So, for example, when many children are younger, they tend to have stories read to them at nighttime. And just like the film Nightmare on Elm Street, the title of the film Nightmare on Elm Street, the fact that the mum is there to save her, it suggests that she's almost an active role within the storyline. And she will always be there to comfort her child, as a parent does when they comfort their child before reading a bedtime story before they go to bed at night, to assure that they have zero nightmares. Then we are cut to a scene where the young lady is actually dragged underneath the bathtub, which sounds a bit weird, but she's dragged underneath and she's almost in an ocean sea. So it's almost seen that the character, the villain character, is actually someone that drags people down to hell, or is seen as that the nightmare is actually at the bottom of the pit of earth that is unexplainable, and you can't find it. Only in your worst nightmare will you ever be able to go downstairs into this bottom pit. And this happens when the character falls asleep, suggesting that throughout the film, whenever kids or teenagers are asleep, that's when their nightmares become real, in a sense. And we are shown this through a low angle of gaze. So therefore, we are actually able to see lighting at the top. One lighting just like this in my background. It's very heavenly, angelic-like, and it suggests that reality is something that we should stick to, and enforces the fact that as teenagers, it is important to stay grounded almost, and not to be, fall in a daze or anything like that. So the importance of the film, it has a very good moral, with the understanding that, teenagers, they have an active role in fear of society possibly, or in a dream. And within this horror clip, we are shown we were shown this through multiple ways, such as camera angles, mise-en-scène, sound, and lighting. And the two main important ones are definitely, I should say, is camera angles and lighting.